reconnect and heal today. Welcome to Love Never Dies with Dr. Jamie Turndorf.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Love Never Dies Radio on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network that broadcasts in 136 countries. And Dr. Turndorf, Turn on the Love on Binge Networks TV. And we're also simulcasting on YouTube Live. So I have a question for you. Have you ever thought about this? What remedy can protect you from COVID-induced blood clots? It's an important question because that is one of the side effects of COVID. And, you know, our blood forms rivers of life in our body. We need some blood clotting, obviously, so that our blood doesn't all spill out of our vessels in the case of punctures. But if something goes wrong with this system, we can develop too much clotting, and that's called thrombosis. And this is where the river and the estuaries can become blocked and stop flowing, and it can cause damage or even bodily death. So today we're going to talk about how this system works in the body and what you can do to help your body maintain healthy oxygenated blood flow and balance, just like a healthy river system. So we're talking again today with my friend, Sandy Sanderson. She has a Bachelor of Arts from the University of New South Wales and postgraduate studies in business and marketing. And she's just a genius, is what she is. She was publisher of This Month on the Gold Coast magazine, founder and CEO of Elektra Magnesium, 2008 to the present is her current moniker. She had a health crisis in 2008 from years of stress overload and shift working as a magazine publisher. And then she discovered that magnesium deficiency was the primary cause of her stress-related conditions. And without enough magnesium cell metabolism and recovery is diminished. And transdermal magnesium helped Sandy to recover from heart arrhythmia and other symptoms of Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. And since that time, Sandy and her husband, Peter, who is a formulating chemist, they've been on the mission of their lifetime to develop an Australian range of natural magnesium body care products branded Elektra Magnesium, and it's packed full of nutrition and quality ingredients. And these products are far more effective at delivering magnesium to the cells through transdermal delivery as opposed to oral tablets and powders. And they work great as anti-aging natural skin care. Right. And I actually recommend this product to my patients, my TV and radio show audiences, my workshop participants. So without further ado, welcome back, Sandy.
Hi, Jamie. Nice to be back. Wow, what a wrap up. I think you're way too kind. I don't think I'm a genius.
Oh, I think you are. You know, I said to you before, and actually in one of the videos I just checked out, I said, she knows more than most MDs, which is true, because your knowledge and your research goes down to the functioning of the cell, you know, all the way down to the DNA. And, you know, our Western medicine kind of stops at the level of what's the symptom, what drug can I give you to abort, you know, or just mask the symptom. And you're really working on a cellular level to figure out what's not going right and how to reverse what's not going right at a cellular level.
Yeah, I think I've always been interested in biology, even since I was a child at school, because I wanted to figure out why I was having digestive issues, why my tummy was swollen and my girlfriend's wasn't, all things like that. I discovered a lot relies on the food that you're eating, and it's really basically a lifestyle thing. So if you know how to live your life well, in tune with your own physical body, and we're individuals and we all differ. So I think it's everyone's, you know, you need to focus on what you as an individual need, because, you know, one t-shirt doesn't fit all. I can tell you my experiences, and there'll be a lot of people out there with experience like mine, but then there'll be a lot of people who have different experiences, and we all have different genetic codes and makeups. So take from our discussions what you will and see what applies. I'm going to try and keep things very common and universal and general, but know that there are always exceptions to the rule. And if you do have any health issue, you should consult a doctor and or a naturopath as well, because they are more schooled, more they learn more about the body, about cells, about nutrition, and that's what it's all about. So we've got a body with a bunch of cells, and they're like little factories. They have to make energy. They have components that need materials put in, They make energy, they produce waste products, and we have to get rid of the waste products. And if that whole system is working well, we have lots of energy and we're healthy and vibrant and we don't get disease. And that's what it boils down to. That's really the bottom line.
I just had this image. I don't know if you ever saw the I Love Lucy show where she goes to work in the chocolate factory. She and Ethel are working the production line, and they have to take these chocolates and put them inside a paper cup, and then, wrap it and move it down, and it just passes out. And what starts to happen is the production line starts to move faster, and she can't keep up. And so she's starting to shove the chocolates down her dress, in her hat, in her pocket, because she can't get rid of. And I thought that's kind of the image of the body, like a conveyor belt. And what you take in, you got to get it out fast enough. And if you can't, now you're starting to pack it on,
Yeah, you can have literally a backlog. And so and then what happens is we get so trained to have a meal at a certain time, and it's got to be certain size and it's got to be certain thing, and we're on autopilot. Often we eat without even thinking. It's not mindful at all. And sometimes we don't need that food, and sometimes we're not even hungry. So I think the whole message is about starting to pay attention with ourselves, our digestive system. How do you feel in your tummy? How do you feel, anywhere in your body? Is something trying to tell you something? Is your body trying to give you messages about things you should do or not do?
Well, that's interesting, Sandy, because when you think about the blood circulation, it's not as easy to tell, right? Because it's not like a signal, I'm hungry, I'm not hungry, I have gas, I have bloating. How does somebody start to tune in to those rivers of life that we're talking about and know, gee, I might be at risk of clotting, thrombosis, so on? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I used the analogy of the river because, you can look at your rivers in the environment and see if they're flowing well and their bubbling brooks are carrying lots of oxygen and there's life in there. There's fish and plants and minerals, and, the waste products are being dealt with and gobbled up and eaten and recycled, and oxygen is in the water. And so we need our body to be the same in respect to the blood. The bloodstream carries oxygen and nutrients to all parts of the body, to the final extremities. We can have such tiny capillaries at the extremities that the blood vessels go through only one single file, one blood vessel at a time. They're that fine and small and tiny. So if something goes wrong with that system and we can't deliver the oxygen to all parts of the body, the cells can die of hypoxia, oxygen deprivation. So we need to have those rivers moving constantly. We need to have the garbage removed, and we need to have lots of oxygen available. Unfortunately, with infections, what happens is the body is, so the immune usually happens, let's go back to stress. Stress lowers the strength of the immune system because of acidity. Stress causes a loss of magnesium. So we then are short of antioxidant support to counteract the acids. And we have always acids being produced in the body. Any metabolism will produce acids, but some forms of metabolism produce more acids than other forms of metabolism. So if your mitochondria have plenty of oxygen, they're going to be making oxygen, making sort of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So there are little energy currency molecules, and they need magnesium to make that ATP. And when you use oxygen to make energy currency, the mitochondria do it, and they give you really good bang for your buck. 38 ATPs per one glucose molecule is produced using oxygen. However, if you don't have enough oxygen, your body, to stay alive, switches to sugar metabolism, which is anaerobic, doesn't need the oxygen, but you can still make some energy. But then you're only producing 2 ATPs per molecule of glucose. So how are you going to get enough energy? The Snickers bars and just give me a sugar hit. So people tend to consume more carbs because they've got to start to fill that tank because they're running low on energy. They're getting fatigued and they just, can't get enough energy to get things done. they're trying to put more coffee into them and more stimulants and more sugar. And all that does is create more acids. So the more anaerobic metabolism you have, the more acids you produce because it's using up more glucose. And so there's more waste products. And as the acidity of the cell gets driven downward, so you get more acid, the pH goes down, you get more acid in the system, you need a higher level of antioxidants. So antioxidants then oppose the acid. They're the opposite. That brings us back to neutral. So a healthy blood pH needs to be ideally 7.35. So that's slightly over alkaline. 7 is exactly in the middle, and 7.35 is just a little bit over. And what that does in a healthy blood river system is deliver a negative charge to the outside of the blood vessels. And in a healthy body, blood vessels should be nice and round and plump and juicy. And with that negative charge, they bounce off one another. The negative charges repel, and that helps them flow fluidly through the river system. So flow in a kind of a spiral. It's quite magical. If you see the little videos, it's quite amazing what happens in the body. It's always a massive miracle when I have a look at it. And what goes wrong with the system is that when it drops in pH, so when it gets more acidic, instead of the negative charges, you get some more positive charges coming in, and then platelets start to build. These are sticky components in the blood, and they start to get stuck to blood cells, and blood cells can join together because of that electrical attraction then from the acidity and form rouleau. Rouleau is when the blood cells stick together in a row and they look like a chain or I don't know what you would...
Like beads, maybe.
Beads, yeah, but beads are stuck together because they're in a kind of a toroid shell shape, like a donut, but not with the hole. And they kind of stuck together like a row of donuts in a packet. There you go. And that means that the surface area of the cell is reduced, so it doesn't have as much capacity to take on board oxygen and nutrients from the blood.
You're talking about red blood cell agglutination.
Red blood cell, yes.
Agglutination, right? Where they clump together. They're all crowded like a bunch of spectators in a sports arena, and everybody's all clumped together. And for a rock.
That's right. Clumped together and gasping for oxygen. So, and then if it continues, the blood clots can form because the debris is not being taken away. More and more stuff gets stuck together, and the little rivers and estuaries can get blocked. And if a blood clot breaks off and flows to another part of the body, it can get stuck in a smaller area, a smaller vessel. And so if you get a clot stuck in the lung arteries, it's called pulmonary embolism. If it gets stuck in the brain, it's a stroke. If it gets stuck in the legs or the pelvis, it's a deep vein thrombosis or a DVT. So some people will be aware of DVTs. Your doctor may have told you, well, if you have a long distance flight and you're sitting for very long periods of time and not moving your body, then you could develop a DVT. So you don't want any part of your body being obstructed in the vascular system at all, because it can cause damage. And then, as you said in the introduction, can even kill you depending on where it lodges and how quickly, the medical people can get to you to unblock it with some medications to open everything up again. So what that might give you is especially if you're having a heart attack or angina attack, they'll give you a nitroglycerin, so that it's nitric oxide really that opens the blood vessels. So blood vessels are made to expand and contract. The wall of the vessel is a collagen matrix structure, like a net, and then it has elastin through it. And that's like elastic. It allows it to expand and contract, but it has good structure. So you don't easily burst or puncture anything. Except, of course, if you have a lot of acid for a long period of time, it can erode your collagen structures and make the vessels thinner. if the vessel walls get too thin and you have hypertension at the same time, you can blow out a little balloon called an aneurysm from the pressure of the blood, and then the wall of the vessel is not strong enough to hold it together. And then that vessel can also burst. So those two things can be associated. That, you know, you might have a lot of pressure in the vascular system because things are starting to clot, or your arterial linings might be getting stiffer. And they do that also because of acidity over time. So the body has a lot of mechanisms within which to control acidity. So usually the pancreas produces sodium bicarbonate and other enzymes which are alkalizing, and your kidneys work to recycle your alkalizing minerals, including magnesium. If your kidneys are working properly, you should be getting your magnesium recycled, a lot of it, except when you're under a lot of stress, you pee a lot more out the kidneys than let too much go. So you have lots of mechanisms, and of course, eating healthy, fresh foods and alkalizing foods, lots of antioxidants coming into the body can neutralize those metabolic acids and bring us back to a good, healthy pH. So what happens when we have inflammation is that there's a big extra load put on the body system, because the process of killing bad bugs or blocking holes and breaches in that system ignites the immune response. So leukocytes come in and phagocytes come in and they gobble up debris, and they get rid of pathogens, and platelets are involved in that system as well. There's a lot of new research coming out, because originally they thought platelets were just, they're there to stop your blood leaking out when you cut yourself. Platelets form a little plug, like a bandage. You know, you just put some pressure on for a while and it starts to, as you said, agglutinate, form a little plug. And then the healing process gets rid of the debris and knits together some new cells for you, and then it's good as gold in a little while. If you're producing not enough antioxidants or not taking enough antioxidants in, and there's too much acid floating around in the system, it's slower to heal. Everything is slower to heal because your body's always struggling to get energy, because the mitochondria slow down their energy production. It's always on computer safe mode. So things may be working okay, but not optimally. And you're always like struggling to get energy, struggling to fix things, fix problems. And then the problems can run away. We can get overbalanced and find it very difficult to get back to balance unless you do certain things like detox your whole system, help remove the waste products, you know, clean up the big mess so that your body can realkalize. So a lot of we hear on the news that you mentioned COVID-19. So all coronaviruses, influenzas, other viral infections such as hepatitis C, HIV, sepsis, aplastic anemia, acute respiratory stress syndrome, and there are more than that. They trigger the immune response, and they are associated with clotting, more and more clotting. And in a healthy system, if you get exposed to viruses, your immune system kicks in and it's healthy and it works well, and you've got your antioxidant recovery system going, you may not even feel those viruses are passing through you. You just go along with your life as normal, and you know, you deal with it. The viruses have been with us since man started evolving, for, you know, millennia upon millennia upon millennia. And our animals, every animal, every living thing has to deal with viruses in the environment. And this is why we have an immune system, and it's evolved in order to deal with those things. But we have to look after our environment. So I'm not talking just about our external environment, which is very important, but also our internal environment, which is the cellular environment, which is the fluid that your cells have inside them, and they also float in them in the tissue. So all of your plasma in the cells and in the blood cannot afford to become acidic. It needs to be a little bit over the 70s to be slightly alkaline to maintain that negative electrical charge. And what happens in the plasma with that right charge, is that it pulls the water molecules together. So the plasma has a kind of a viscose or a little bit of an oily jelly-like texture, because that's the water molecules becoming structured and they're like train tracks, and that improves the transport of nutrients and all sorts of cellular components back and forth, waste going out, nutrients coming in along these train tracks, and that's efficient. Once the cell becomes too acidic, the train tracks get looser and more disordered and don't go in the right direction, and cells also lose their beautiful round form shape and become jagged on the edges. I don't know if you've ever seen, you can look it up online, dark field microscopy. So they're super, super powerful microscopes that use light. So you can see a live blood, a picture of live blood with all the components moving around and the cells moving around, and you can see the shape of everything. And yeah, so when they're sick, when cells are sick, they get a deformed shape and they get bumpy, more and more and more bumpy, and protrusions start to emerge like spikes on the outside where the cell is trying to get rid of garbage. They're called exosomes. It's trying to expel stuff. But if the acidity is too much, it's fighting a losing battle. And then the cell just can't cope and it dies. And then, the body's immune system, the macrophages, has to come in and gobble it up. And then it goes into the lymph, it goes to the liver, and you poop it out, normally. If your digestive and your detox on your lymph system is not quite working well, the body has to do something with those wastes and toxins. And then there's also toxins you absorb from the outside, maybe some heavy metals, other kind of toxic elements, chemicals. They have to go somewhere. And if your detox system isn't able to eliminate, then it's stored in tissue cells. And so fat cells are a primary target for the liver to shove the garbage into these fat garbage bags. And so we accumulate excess fat, usually adipose tissue around the middle, around the buttocks and the hips, because the body is trying to get rid of crap, basically.
Well, basically, I think it's that it can't get rid of it, so it produces fat to wrap around the toxins that we couldn't get out fast enough to sequester it and keep it away from us. I have to take a break, but we'll be back in a moment to look in the garbage, help bring it out. I'll be back with you in a moment. Hi, it's Dr. J.B. Turndorf here. Are you feeling stressed, tense, jumpy, jittery, anxious, or having panic attacks or angry outbursts or disturbed sleep? Are you worried that you or someone you love is going to get sick or even die? Are you depressed and feeling hopeless, like the world is coming to an end? Or are you suffering aches and pains or stiff muscles, low energy, or falling into self-damaging or addictive behaviors like binging on junk food, the internet, or TV, or abusing drugs or alcohol, or not eating right, or exercising, feeling like, what's the point? If you said yes to any of my questions, you are likely suffering what I call the global PTSD pandemic stress syndrome triggered by the coronavirus pandemic. Don't despair. My energetic system upgrade is your rescue remedy for the panic epidemic that is plaguing our world. The energetic system upgrade has already helped some of today's top leaders. Now you can experience your own energetic system upgrade healing transformation. To find out more and to schedule your session, visit drjamieturndorf.com/energetic system upgrade. That's Dr. Jamie Turndorf, TURNDORF.com/energetic system upgrade.
Love Never Dies is now on the Dream Vision 7 radio network every Wednesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. and 1 a.m. Eastern Time. Dr. Jamie Turndorf, also known as Dr. Love, is the #1 international best-selling author of Love Never Dies, How to Reconnect and Make Peace with the Deceased. If you're grieving the loss of a loved one, tune in and find out how to reconnect and heal any unfinished business using Dr. Turndorf's groundbreaking new Dialoguing with the Departed technique. Visit AskDrLove.com to find out more.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
You're listening to Love Never Dies with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. If you yearn to get along better with your life partner or spouse, friends, family members, and even coworkers, Dr. Turndorf's book, Kiss Your Fights Goodbye, Dr. Love's 10 Simple Steps to Cooling Conflict and Rekindling Your Relationship, shows you how to turn conflict into connection for a lifetime of lasting love. Find out more about Kiss Your Fights Goodbye at AskDrLove.com. This is Love Never Dies with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. This show is for you, the listener. Once again, here's Dr. Turndorf.
Hello again, and welcome back to Love Never Dies Radio on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. And Dr. Turndorf, Turn on the Love on Binge Networks TV. And we're streaming live on YouTube on the Dream Vision 7 YouTube channel. We're talking with Sandy Sanderson about how you can protect yourself from COVID-induced blood clots and other virally induced blood clots. So Sandy, we're talking about what happens when the garbage doesn't get taken out fast enough. And so the body starts putting on fat in order to sequester the toxins that are not being eliminated. And then we stopped mid-idea.
Yes. So a lot of the time where people have decided to change their lifestyle and eat a better diet and get some exercise and, avoid the chemicals and eat organic, they find without actually reducing calories that much, they are still able to drop the weight because the process of doing that detoxes them. And if your body is able to shed the waste products, there's no need to keep the fat piled on. So it's not so much a question anymore, as we thought in the past, of the number of calories. It's how you process and use and digest the calories and how you eliminate your waste products. So we hear a lot about comorbid conditions, and when people develop complications, when they get a viral infection, they develop complications, and it might be influenza, it might be just ordinary flu. If they're carrying a heavy load, they're going to have a weaker immune system, and that's just the way it is. The defenses are down. And so people with diabetes, heart disease, cardiovascular, metabolic syndrome, and diabetic acidosis, all of those conditions will make them more prone to having complications when they do get an infection. And it'll be harder to get rid of. And so what you want to do is protect your body by looking after its cellular environment so that whatever you encounter in the world, in your daily activities, whatever kind of viruses happen to be floating around, they're not going to affect you that much. You can deal with it. You want to build your immune system and make it stronger. So there are, I'll mention people that are more prone to having complications with infections. There is a group of people with a genetic mutation that does easily develop blood clots without having those preconditions, that metabolic acidosis. And these are people with a mutated gene called factor V Leiden. So it's about 5% of the population, and a lot more in the Caucasian population and a lot less in indigenous peoples. So it's a genetic hand-me-down from, I think, originally Northern Europe. And what happens is if you have this mutated gene, if you're homozygous, that means both of your parents had it, you're 50 to 100 times more likely to get a thrombosis, a clot. And if only one of your parents had the mutated gene, so you're then heterozygous, then you've got 5 to 10 times more likely chance of getting a blood clot. And so that means you have to be a lot more careful about what you expose your body to. You're not as resilient when it comes to that pH balance. You have to be stricter with your lifestyle. And that's what I was saying in the beginning. We're all individuals. We're all different. We have a different makeup. And when you learn what your body needs and can't handle, and then you work with it in a natural way, you can have a really good life and a healthy life despite any kind of gene mutations. So let me give you an example. My own son, Daniel, he is heterozygous for factor V Leiden because his father was homozygous, but I don't have it. So he has to be really strict with his diet, and he's super healthy. He's played soccer. He's very energetic. He has a good life, a healthy life, but he has a very strict diet. He avoids sugars and no processed carbs. He gets good regular exercise. He's very mindful about eating organic, super strict. And also, I recommended he do some meditation lessons. So he did the course for Vipassana meditation. And all of those things come together because if you meditate as well, you can reduce your stress levels. And remember, stress causes excessive magnesium loss and generates more adrenaline, and all of that produces more acid waste.
Right.
So I also wanted to talk about hypertension because it's kind of wrapped up in there. Hypertension is another side effect of that blood acidity, because that's when, why do people take blood thinners? It was a question I asked a while back, why do people need blood thinners? Why isn't their blood doing the normal thing? And it's usually because the vessel walls get stiffer and the blood can get thicker. And so that's more pressure. It's like pressure in a dry hose. The water has to pump harder through that hose. So you either get a smaller trickle or you have to get a bigger engine to push that water through when the hose is not expanding and contracting like it should. It's lost elasticity. And that's what happens with the vascular system. It can get a bit stiffer. And what causes the stiffness is calcium deposits. So when the blood gets a bit acidic, the body can use, and it doesn't have enough antioxidants such as magnesium, it tends to pull calcium out of the bones, and then it becomes free-floating calcium in the blood, which can temporarily bring your pH back to normal. But then the side effect of that is you've got this free-floating calcium, which has a blood thickening effect, and it can precipitate or drop onto the lining of your arteries. And those patches or places where there's more calcium gets a bit harder. And then those vascular walls, that netting, can't stretch in those places where the calcium has precipitated. So as the heart has to pump harder, the pressure goes up. It's pumping through, and sometimes little micro splits happen in that vascular wall, in the endothelial lining. And then there's a breach, and so platelets have to form to try and plug up the hole so you don't leak. And then they bump into other red blood cells and other blood components, and they're scooped up because this mass gets sticky. And if you don't have enough antioxidants to bring your pH back to normal, if you don't have then enough enzymes to clean up the mess, the clot can keep growing eventually. And then more cholesterol fat has to be sent to the area because fats are an insulator, and our good cholesterol fats mop up acidic wastes as well, but then that oxidizes the fats. And so it becomes bad fat. And that is like a jelly-like substance that grows and occludes or makes that opening that the blood is trying to flow through smaller and smaller, and eventually leads to angina and could become a heart attack down the track. So people are put on blood thinners to try and thin that blood out, but still not addressing the calcium that's floating around. And what happens if you don't have enough platelets? So they thin the blood by reducing the number of platelets being produced in the bone marrow. But then if you don't have enough platelets and you cut yourself, it takes a hell of a lot longer to stop the blood, to stop the bleeding. Or you can just bump yourself and start having a bleed, or you can have a nosebleed. The lower the platelet count, and that's getting into thrombocytopenia, low platelet count, the more you become a bleeder. Just with little lumps and bumps, you can have tiny little blood blisters that burst. You can be just sitting on a lounge chair and suddenly you leak, which is no good either. So we have to be very mindful of trying to always get back to the balance, and too many blood thinners can also be dangerous. So if something is going wrong with that system, talk to your doctor, and your medications can be adjusted accordingly. But
I'd like to get down to something practical for our viewers and listeners. So let's say somebody says, how do I even know I have a predisposition, a tendency to forming clots, to forming thrombosis, to stroke, DVT? So there are certain tests, certain blood tests that the person can look for.
If you want to find out about if you have the genetic factor 5, you just get a genetic test for it. And then you can also get a blood test just, from your normal medical clinic that will look at inflammatory markers, like interleukins in the blood. So the doctor will be able to see if you're having an inflammatory response by what's showing up in your blood.
In addition to that test, you can also look at the C-reactive protein, the ESR, which is the sed rate. You can look at plasma viscosity, how much your plasma is sticky, the ferritin, the fibrinogen, the IL-6. I mean, these are the main tests, the TN-FA, right? You could have a whole panel of inflammation and
they're markers. Yeah, they're called markers. So that gives the doctor a picture of what's happening in your body that's invisible. We can't see it, but it's happening in our rivers, and our rivers might be getting clogged and we're not aware of it. These processes like arteriosclerosis, they take many, many years to develop.
That's it. And you don't want to find out when you're laid out. That's not a poem. Find out when you're laid out. No, you want to know an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So it's really good to find out. And also you can test your own pH using, salivary or urinary.
Urine, yes.
Right?
Yes, you can. So all of these are little extra things you can do to monitor how your own body is going. And it's about self-awareness. We need to do that. We need to know how to, our body is a vehicle. We have it for a period of time, and then it gets past its use by date. But while we have it, we need to maintain it, just like you maintain your car.
That's it. And one more thing before we take a break. I was just thinking from a practical point of view, even if you haven't gotten the tests, the genetic testing or the blood tests, urinary, salivary testing, there are certain symptoms that the blood isn't flowing right, like your hands are cold, your feet are cold.
Or tingly.
You can't get an erection. I hate it when I can't get an erection. I hate it, but seriously, that means the blood isn't flowing right to your third leg. I mean, these are things people don't think about. They just start having erectile dysfunction and then they get a prescription, for Viagra or Cialis, but that's just treating a symptom. The fact that the blood and oxygen isn't reaching your penis is a sign,
Yes. And, that's, some people say that's where, we have another kind of a brain, but blood also needs to flow to your brain in your cranium as well. And so another symptom is brain fog and, losing concentration, being forgetful, and also depression, because when you're not getting enough energy, when the mitochondria don't have enough oxygen, they're not making enough ATP, your brain is low on energy, it's going to feel depressed. Think about how much energy you use up to be happy, to have those good emotions, and even to smile, and the muscles that you use on your face. everything about being happy requires a lot of energy. And when you don't have the energy, you just feel depressed.
You're just a lump. You know, it's so funny. This acupuncturist I know, he's a master of Chinese medicine. He said his father, I don't say died, I say his father left his body from happiness. He got so happy that boom, he had some kind of an episode, a vascular episode, a stroke, a heart attack. So he said in the Chinese medicine world, they say you have to moderate your emotions. Don't be too happy, which to me sounds whacked, because I think, you know, we're here to enjoy our ride, but you've got to make sure your pH is right and your nutrition is right and your blood is flowing right so you can handle being happy, you know?
That's right. That's right. It's like being an athlete. If you over exercise, you could have a heart attack. And that happens. You know, you might see a marathon runner and they've suddenly have a heart attack in the middle of the run, and they look fit and healthy. They've done all the training, and you think, how did that happen? How
those guys have lost their, you know, their electrolytes, the magnesium, so their heart stops. But we got to take a break. Okay. We'll be back in a moment. It's Dr. Jamie Turndorf here. Are you feeling stressed, tense, jumpy, jittery, anxious, or having panic attacks or angry outbursts or disturbed sleep? Are you worried that you or someone you love is going to get sick or even die? Are you depressed and feeling hopeless, like the world is coming to an end? Or are you suffering aches and pains or stiff muscles, low energy, or falling into self-damaging or addictive behaviors like binging on junk food, the internet, or TV, or abusing drugs or alcohol, or not eating right, or exercising, feeling like, what's the point? If you said yes to any of my questions, you are likely suffering what I call the global PTSD pandemic stress syndrome triggered by the coronavirus pandemic. Don't despair. My energetic system upgrade is your rescue remedy for the panic epidemic that is plaguing our world. The energetic system upgrade has already helped some of today's top leaders. Now you can experience your own energetic system upgrade healing transformation. To find out more and to schedule your session, visit drjamieturndorf.com/energetic system upgrade. That's Dr. Jamie Turndorf, TURNDORF.com/energetic system upgrade.
Love Never Dies is now on the Dream Vision 7 radio network every Wednesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. and 1 a.m. Eastern Time. Dr. Jamie Turndorf, also known as Dr. Love, is the #1 international best-selling author of Love Never Dies, How to Reconnect and Make Peace with the Deceased. If you're grieving the loss of a loved one, tune in and find out how to reconnect and heal any unfinished business using Dr. Turndorf's groundbreaking new Dialoguing with the Departed technique. Visit AskDrLove.com to find out more.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
You're listening to Love Never Dies with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. If you can't stop crying over the bodily loss of a loved one, Dr. Turndorf's #1 international bestseller, Love Never Dies, How to Reconnect and Make Peace with the Deceased, will show you how to toss out the tissues and transform your grief into joy using her groundbreaking new Dialoguing with the Departed technique that enables you to reconnect and even heal unfinished business with those in spirit without the assistance of a medium, channeler, or psychic. Sign up for Dr. Love's free newsletter at AskDrLove.com and receive an exciting gift, a free excerpt of Love Never Dies. And now, back to Love Never Dies with Dr. Jamie Turndorf.
again, welcome back to Love Never Dies on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. Dr. Turndorf, Turn on the Love on Binge Networks TV. We're talking with Sandy Sanderson about how you can defend against blood clots. So, Sandy, let's see if we can come up with a program now for everybody watching and listening. The program for everything that you can do to defend against blood clots from COVID or other viral infections or from genetic predisposition. So how about it?
Yes, so we hear a lot about, take extra vitamin D and vitamin C, and all of these are really, really good antioxidant vitamins. You may also need to take some extra glutathione because that helps to chelate and remove heavy metal toxins. And superoxide dismutase, which is SOD for short, is another very powerful antioxidant inside cells that the mitochondria need to mop up the acids that are produced from metabolism. And so guess what you need to make those two really powerful enzymes in the body? You need a lot of magnesium. You do, because you need magnesium to make proteins. And enzymes are proteins, and that's how magnesium supports all enzyme activities, from digestion to making cells to repairing DNA. It all uses magnesium. Magnesium's like your electrical power plug, your battery backup system. Everything relies on magnesium. And so when you have acidity and your energy levels drop, you don't get enough oxygen, you need to put oxygen and magnesium back into the body. And you do that with a lot of antioxidant support and also detoxing procedures. You could go to a naturopath and get a diet designed for you for your individual needs. They might put you on maybe a liver cleanse or some kind of detoxification, maybe even have enemas. There are lots of different methods that can be designed to suit your individual needs. So don't worry, the people have done it before and it works well. And you can find something that works for you. So basically the bottom line is you need to, the bottom line.
We spoke about enemas, so the bottom line. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's just like us having a spring clean, and you know what? Afterwards, you feel so good. You feel your energy spiraling upwards. You could just jump up and down for joy, and you really notice the difference after you've removed the heavy weight of those toxins. You notice the difference more, whereas before you kind of put up with it and you think that that's normal, but it's not normal. So magnesium in that way has an anti-inflammatory effect. And it is a regulator of the immune system. So if you have ample magnesium, your immune system is strong. It supports the platelets, it supports the leukocytes. There's lots of scientific studies that have shown that in low magnesium environments, the platelets don't do what they're supposed to do. And they can go either way. You can get overproduction and overstickiness and more clotting, or you can get low platelet count, which means you become a bleeder. It can go either way, but magnesium is a regulator. It comes in and it delivers the energy that the whole system needs to rebalance itself. And it also acts as an antioxidant. Magnesium has 2 spare electrons in its outer shell. So it's donating electrons to free radicals, which are the acid waste products that are missing electrons. And the reason that they destroy cells is because they're missing electrons and they suck it off other good tissue cells, and then that destroys them, which is what acids do. It breaks down tissue that way. That's how nature recycles things back into the environment and turns it back into soil again. It produces more and more acid. Well, while you're alive, you want to stay on top of that system and not let the acids take over while you're alive, right? So that means that you can avoid disease. And that's what it's all about, really. How do you keep your body steady as she goes in the middle, in that nice balance point, avoiding disease, keeping your immune system strong? And you do it with some good antioxidant support, eating a good diet, avoid sugars. Sugars, as I said before, the anaerobic metabolism uses up more glucose. It pumps more glucose and insulin into the system, into the bloodstream, but then the mitochondria can't use all that glucose, because if it doesn't have enough oxygen and magnesium, two very important components to do that aerobic metabolism, it can't accept the extra glucose, because then that produces more acids, and too many acids and not enough oxygen and magnesium can kill your mitochondria. So the cell can kind of lock up and just not let more through the door, because it's like wanting to protect itself. Then what the body has to do is send that surplus glucose to the liver to do something with it. It can't stay in the blood. And then the liver piles it on as fat, usually wrapped up with toxins. And that's what's caused that apple type of shape, that diabetic shape around the middle where you put that weight on there. But you can turn it all around. You can turn it all around by having a big cleanup and just make a decision. Just decide, I'm going to do this for myself. I'm going to drive my vehicle better. I'm going to, if you give up smoking, give up those bad habits, they're only going to erode you away. And even though they give you maybe a short-term dopamine hit, on the long term, that will cause a lot more pain and suffering. So you really got to think about, what are you doing here on this planet? Why are you here? And what turns you on and makes you feel good and makes you feel happy and makes you feel alive and in a space of love. You need to be healthy and energetic to be in that space to really get the most out of life. And to move your body, you need exercise. You need to put oxygen in the body. If you can't move because you have a disability or something like that, you can actually get an oxygen supplying machine, or you can get a physiotherapist to come in and help move your body because the lymph system, which is the garbage disposal system, needs movement to do its job. It doesn't have a separate pump like the blood. The cardiovascular system has the heart pump that pumps the blood around, but the lymph system doesn't have its own pump.
It uses breathe, right? You could use deep breathing to help.
Deep breathing. Yep.
Even a sauna, right? Because the sauna can kind of help you if you can't exercise. Heating the body and sweating will give that same garbage removal through the skin and the lymphatic system.
The skin is a great way to excrete, but make sure that you replenish yourself with plenty of hydration, mineral water preferably, because it's more hydrating for the cells for that flushing process. And if you have a high hypertension or high blood pressure and the blood's a bit thicker, having a sauna or getting overheated can push the blood pressure up higher because of the dehydration. That's the problem, you see. The problem is the dehydration. So you need to make sure if you're doing any of that stuff that you always stay very well hydrated and are also mindful of your blood pressure. Monitor your heart rate and your blood pressure. You can just put your finger on the pulse and keep a tab on, if you're going on a long walk, that kind of thing. Be mindful if you're at the tipping point, if you're very overweight or you have already a cardiovascular problem, you have to be more gentle on yourself. You can't be like an athlete. You have to incrementally stretch yourself a little bit further within the healthy boundaries, and then a little bit more and a little bit more, and allow your body to catch up. And it will catch up. It will improve. That's what training is all about. That's why people go to the gym. They just push a little bit more, have a break, recover, and then you come back stronger. And the body does that all the time. You just have to make up your mind that you're going to go on that training process, and your body will improve and the rivers will clear up, and you'll be healthy and well and full of oxygen and good minerals because you decided to do something good, right?
Right. And, I think sometimes people don't feel they can do it for themselves. But if you think about the people who love you and who rely on you, sometimes you can do it for them, just to get you over the hump, to get started, because I want to live to see my grandchild's birthday, or somebody else who would motivate you. The love of someone else to get you.
The emotions are really, really important. In fact, if you're experiencing negative emotions, that produces more acid. So you want to avoid that. You want to surround yourself with as much love and loving people and supporting people as you can. And be loving yourself, because it's a circular movement. So as what you give out, you get back. So just keep putting it out there and loving yourself. also helps that river, that circulation. It's always an energy. So emotions are energy in motion. And if you get stuck, that means your internal physical blood rivers can get stuck as well. So don't get stuck with emotions. Clear it out. If something's bugging you, sort it out. Face it. Look at it. Get rid of it. Get it out of your life. Whatever it is that's making you feel bad or stressed, change it. Decide to make changes. We live at a time now where there's huge changes everywhere. You can let go of all your bad habits and just decide to have a new life. Just make a decision.
So funny because, I truly believe life on earth is our love lab. We're here to perfect our ability to love ourselves and others. There's no other purpose. Nobody ever says when he or she is at the moment of leaving his body, gee, I didn't work enough. I didn't love enough. I didn't connect enough. And the power of love to heal your body is extraordinary. It is, just as you say.
Yes, and a lot of people have a problem with self-love as well. They think they don't deserve it. Maybe even as a child, they were told they're not good enough. And they're still believing it on a subconscious level. So you would know that in your profession, that happens quite a lot. And then we don't look after ourselves. And it's always, we can become a martyr and it's, I'm giving my whole life away for somebody else. You never look after yourself. So lots of reasons why, we bash ourselves in a sense, because we don't feel worthy. So to feel worthy, I recommend that you really look after your health because you are worth it. You're here for a purpose, you're here for a mission, and you're here to contribute to the planet, to the world, and to future generations in some way, in your particular individual way. And you have a mission to fulfill, and you just let go of the maintenance of your vehicle for a while, but you can maintain it and get back to where you should be by making a decision to do that. And you can have a bath, have a lovely, comforting, pampering magnesium bath. You can soak up minerals through the skin, especially if the digestive system isn't working. I highly recommend transdermal magnesium because you can get a hit very quickly because the magnesium in that form, magnesium chloride dissolved, is already in the right form to be taken up by cells. So it can pass through the skin and the body takes up what it needs in the right amount. It's in control that way. And you just feel so relaxed and super calm. It'll help you sleep better at night. If you don't have time for a foot soak or a bath, you can put magnesium cream or lotion on. And that's really good for your skin. Excellent anti-aging.
It is a love mineral. I do, I use it in my energetic system upgrades, my grief relief sessions, because the heart is an electromagnetic pump, right? So you put the magnesium on your heart and suddenly one of my patients said, I feel love for myself and for all humanity since I applied it to my heart. So, it's a real way of shifting the biochemistry using your...
Well, it relaxes the muscles. And I got rid of my heart arrhythmias that way. I love to put on my chest because when I get a bit stressed or overworked, I burnt the candle at both ends, I'm starting to feel a bit fragile, I go straight for the magnesium and I just give myself a big dose on my chest and just literally within minutes, I just feel that feeling of it's all good.
Open. You feel everything is flowing, and even it raises your vibration. It helps you reconnect more with your loved ones in spirit. Tomorrow is Jean's anniversary, the day he left his body. So I'm, very mindful of the reconnection.
Are you going to have a glass of champagne?
Definitely. Well, I was thinking.
Organic.
Yeah, I know. Please believe me. So in any case, that's because we're at the end. Just give your address so everybody knows how to connect to you, find your wonderful Elektra products.
Yes, so we have also articles, blogs, videos, podcasts, lots of information about magnesium if you want to learn more, and also how to use the different products. There's a big range of all different strengths for different skin types and ages. So have a look, electramagnesium.com.au. So that's ELEKTRA, magnesium.com.au. So it's an Australian website. Remember to put the .au at the end. And we look forward to seeing you on board. Send me an email if you have a question. I'm always happy to talk to people if you have something on your mind and you need to understand something a bit better. My journey is all learning all the time. I never stop learning. And I learn from other people. They call me and or email me and tell me stuff that happens. And I learn more and more and more, such as, this magnesium cream really helped my itchy dermatitis, or it really helped something else. So people tell me all the time. I'm always learning, and we never should stop learning.
Exactly. So I am learning now that we have to come to an end for this segment, but we'll see you again next month. And everybody, take really good care. Sending you lots of love. See you next time.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment.